March 6, 1944. 27,000 feet above Berlin. Staff Sergeant Raymond Mueller sits isolated in the tail gun position of a B-17 Flying Fortress as 11 Focke-Wulf 190 fighters close at 400 miles per hour from his 6 o'clock. Mueller has 600 rounds of 50 caliber ammunition divided between 2 Browning M2 machine guns. At this altitude, his oxygen supply will last exactly 47 minutes. The German fighters approach from a 20-degree climbing angle, exploiting the tail gunner's single deadliest weakness, a blind spot that has killed more tail gunners than enemy fire. If you want to see how Mueller survives this, hit that like button right now. Raymond Mueller joined the 381st Bomb Group in October 1943. He flew his first combat mission on November 3 as tail gunner aboard Liberty Bell, a B-17G with serial number 42 to 31367. The tail gun position occupied the most isolated station on the aircraft. The gunner sat 48 feet behind the cockpit, separated by the bomb bay, radio room, and waist gun positions. Communication occurred through a throat microphone with a 15-foot cord. The position measured 4 feet wide by 3 feet tall by 6 feet deep. Mueller's position contained 2 Browning M250 caliber machine guns with 600 rounds total ammunition. Each gun fired at 800 rounds per minute. This provided approximately 22 seconds of sustained fire before ammunition exhaustion. The guns traversed 85 degrees horizontally and 60 degrees vertically. Effective range against fighter aircraft measured 600 yards maximum. The B-17G tail position included one critical modification from earlier models. Boeing added a reflector gun sight designated the N8 model. This sight projected a 70 milliradian reticle onto a combining glass. The tail gunner aligned this reticle with approaching fighters to calculate lead angles for deflection shooting. The system worked adequately for targets approaching from directly astern. It failed completely for targets approaching from angles above or below the horizontal plane. Mueller completed his third mission on November 26, 1943. The target was Bremen. His bomber formation encountered 23 Messerschmitt Bf-109 fighters at 1,417 hours. The German fighters employed a tactical doctrine designated attack from below. Luftwaffe fighter pilots discovered that approaching B-17 formations from beneath the tail position exploited a geometric blind spot. The tail gunner sat with his eyes positioned 14 inches above the gun centerline. This offset created a cone-shaped blind zone extending downward from the tail guns at a 35-degree angle. German fighters approaching within this cone remained invisible to the tail gunner until they reached point-blank range of 150 yards. At this distance, a fighter traveling 350 miles per hour covered the remaining gap in 1.3 seconds. Mueller experienced this vulnerability firsthand during the Bremen mission. A Bf-109 approached from his 7 o'clock low position. Mueller detected the fighter only when tracer rounds passed his left gun position. He depressed his guns to maximum downward angle and fired a 3-second burst. The tracers arced above the fighter. The Bf-109 closed to 100 yards and struck the tail section with 76 rounds of 20mm cannon fire before breaking away. The attack damaged the tail wheel mechanism and severed hydraulic lines. Mueller's intercom connection failed. He remained isolated in the tail section for the remaining 112-minute flight to England. The incident demonstrated the tactical problem facing every B-17 tail gunner. The blind spot killed tail gunners at twice the rate of any other crew position. Mueller studied the problem during the 6-day stand-down period following the Bremen mission. The geometric cause was clear. His eye position sat too high relative to the gun position. Lowering his seat would solve the angle problem but would prevent him from reaching the gun controls. Raising the guns was mechanically impossible within the confined tail compartment. Mueller requested a mirror from the base supply depot on December 2, 1943. He obtained a standard shaving mirror measuring 4 inches by 6 inches with a chrome-plated steel frame. He mounted this mirror to the tail gun sight housing using 2 hose clamps and 14 inches of steel wire. The mirror angled downward at 42 degrees relative to the gun centerline. This configuration allowed Mueller to observe the airspace beneath his guns while maintaining his normal seated position. He tested the system during a training flight on December 8. The mirror provided a field of view covering the critical blind zone from directly astern to 30 degrees below horizontal. The field of view measured 85 degrees horizontally, matching his gun traverse capability. The mirror solution worked but introduced a new complication. Mueller now received visual information from 2 sources simultaneously. His direct vision covered targets approaching level or above. The mirror covered targets approaching from below. His brain required approximately 0.4 seconds to process which visual source provided relevant targeting information. In aerial combat, where fighters closed at 500 feet per second, this 0.4-second delay meant 200 feet of range lost before engaging. Mueller flew his fourth combat mission on December 11, 1943. The target was Emden. His formation encountered 8 FW-190 fighters at 1,523 hours. One fighter approached from Mueller's 7 o'clock low position, precisely the angle his mirror system was designed to counter. Mueller detected the fighter in his mirror at 800 yards range. He depressed his guns and aligned the fighter in his mirror-reflected gun sight. He fired a 4-second burst totaling 107 rounds. The fighter broke left and climbed away undamaged. Mueller's tracers passed 50 feet behind the target. The miss occurred because Mueller calculated deflection angle based on the mirror image. The mirror reversed the apparent direction of fighter movement. A fighter moving left appeared to move right in the mirror. Mueller's brain automatically applied deflection in the wrong direction. Can one tail gunner solve a problem that's killed hundreds of his fellow airmen? Hit that like button to see how this turns out, and let's continue with Mueller's next innovation. Mueller modified his system during the 3-day period following the Emden mission. He added a second mirror to his gun sight assembly. This mirror measured 3 inches by 5 inches and mounted directly above his primary gun sight. The second mirror angled at 38 degrees and reflected the image from his first mirror. This created a double reflection configuration. The double mirror system corrected the reversed image problem. A fighter moving left in real space appeared to move left in the second mirror's reflection. The system restored normal directional correspondence. Mueller tested this configuration during ground training on December 16. He aimed at ground targets positioned at various angles below his gun position. The double mirror system allowed accurate target tracking. The modification introduced 3 new complications. First, the double reflection path increased the apparent distance between his eye and the target image. This distance measured 31 inches compared to 14 inches for direct sight viewing. The increased distance reduced apparent target size by 55%. Small fighters like the Bf-109 appeared smaller and became more difficult to track. Second, the mirrors reduced light transmission. Each reflection lost approximately 15% of incident light due to imperfect mirror surface quality. The double reflection system reduced total light reaching Mueller's eye by 28%. At high altitude where ambient light intensity was already reduced, this loss made target acquisition more difficult. Third, the mirror system added weight to the gun sight assembly. The 2 mirrors plus mounting hardware weighed 2.8 pounds. This weight created additional moment load on the gun elevation mechanism. The elevation control required 40% more force to operate. During extended engagements requiring rapid gun movement, this increased force requirement caused significant arm fatigue. Mueller flew his 5th mission on December 20, 1943. The target was Frankfurt. His formation encountered 17 FW-190 and Bf-109 fighters between 1448 and 1517 hours. Mueller engaged 4 separate fighters during this period. All 4 approached from below horizontal, placing them within his mirror observation zone. The first engagement occurred at 1,451 hours. An FW-190 approached from 7 o'clock low at 700 yards range. Mueller tracked the fighter in his double mirror system and fired a 5-second burst totaling 134 rounds. Tracers converged on the fighter at 450 yards range. The fighter's left wing showed impact strikes. The fighter rolled inverted and descended away from formation. Mueller claimed 1 probable kill. The second engagement occurred at 1,458 hours. A Bf-109 approached from 5 o'clock low at 850 yards range. Mueller engaged at 600 yards with a 6-second burst totaling 160 rounds. The fighter broke right before reaching effective range. No hits observed. The engagement consumed ammunition and provided no result. The third engagement occurred at 1,509 hours. 2 FW-190 fighters approached in formation from 6 o'clock low at 900 yards range. Mueller engaged the right-hand fighter at 550 yards with a 4-second burst totaling 107 rounds. The fighter showed multiple strikes on fuselage and wing root. The fighter's engine produced black smoke. The fighter descended trailing smoke and flame. Mueller claimed 1 confirmed kill. The fourth engagement occurred at 1,514 hours. A Bf-109 approached from 8 o'clock low at 600 yards range. Mueller engaged at 400 yards with a 3-second burst totaling 80 rounds. Multiple strikes observed on fighter's right wing and engine cowling. The fighter's propeller stopped rotating. The fighter entered a flat spin. Mueller claimed 1 confirmed kill. Mueller's mirror system demonstrated effectiveness during the Frankfurt mission. His 3 claimed kills from the mirror-enabled engagements represented 43% of all tail gunner claims filed by the 381st Bomb Group on that date. The group's 7 tail gunners flew the Frankfurt mission. They collectively claimed 7 fighter kills. Mueller accounted for 3 of these 7 claims. The 381st Bomb Group intelligence officer interviewed Mueller on December 21. The interview documented Mueller's mirror system and its tactical application. The intelligence officer photographed the installation and prepared a technical description. This documentation was forwarded to 8 Bomber Command headquarters on December 23. 8 Bomber Command assigned Lieutenant Colonel James Strickland to evaluate Mueller's system. Strickland visited the 381st Bomb Group on January 4, 1944. He interviewed Mueller and inspected the mirror installation. Strickland flew a training mission in Mueller's aircraft on January 6, occupying the tail gun position to evaluate the system firsthand. Strickland's evaluation report dated January 9, 1944, contained mixed conclusions. The report acknowledged the mirror system's tactical value for engaging fighters approaching from below horizontal. The report identified 3 concerns. First, the mirror system was non-standard equipment requiring individual installation and maintenance. Second, the system's effectiveness depended on individual gunner adaptation to mirror-based targeting. Third, the system's weight addition and light transmission reduction created operational drawbacks. Strickland's report recommended against mandatory installation across all B-17 tail positions. The report recommended making mirror systems available to tail gunners who requested them. 8 Bomber Command approved this recommendation on January 15, 1944. The command authorized base supply depots to issue mirrors and mounting hardware to tail gunners upon request. Mueller continued flying combat missions through March 1944. He completed 17 additional missions between January 12 and March 22. During these missions he engaged 31 separate fighter attacks. His mirror system enabled engagement of 22 attacks that approached from below horizontal. Mueller filed claims for 11 fighter kills during this period. Gun camera footage confirmed 7 of these kills. Intelligence officers designated the remaining 4 as probable kills. Mueller's system is working, but his toughest test is still coming. Subscribe to see how this story ends. Mueller's most significant engagement occurred on March 6, 1944, during the mission described in this script's opening. The 381st Bomb Group targeted the Erkner ball bearing works outside Berlin. Mueller's aircraft occupied the number 6 position in the high squadron. This position was designated Tail End Charlie and received disproportionate fighter attention due to its exposed location. The bomber formation encountered German fighters at 1,342 hours while approaching the initial point for the bombing run. The Luftwaffe committed elements from Jagdgeschwader 11 and Jagdgeschwader 1 to the interception. The German force included 47 FW-190 and Bf-109 fighters. The fighters employed coordinated attack tactics with pairs of fighters approaching from multiple angles simultaneously. Mueller's aircraft received attention from 11 separate fighters during the 23-minute period between 1342 and 1405 hours. Mueller engaged 9 of these fighters. His mirror system enabled observation and engagement of 7 fighters approaching from below horizontal. Without the mirror system, these 7 fighters would have remained in Mueller's blind zone until reaching point-blank range. The most critical engagement occurred at 1,347 hours. 3 FW-190 fighters approached in formation from 7 o'clock low at 1,100 yards range. The fighters climbed at 15 degrees relative to horizontal. This climb angle positioned them directly within Mueller's mirror observation zone. Mueller tracked the lead fighter in his double mirror system. Mueller opened fire at 650 yards range with a 7-second burst totaling 187 rounds. Tracers converged on the lead fighter at 500 yards. Multiple strikes observed on the fighter's engine cowling and cockpit area. The fighter's engine produced white coolant vapor. The fighter rolled left and descended away from formation trailing vapor. Mueller shifted fire to the number 2 fighter. The second fighter had closed to 450 yards during Mueller's engagement of the lead aircraft. Mueller fired a 5-second burst totaling 134 rounds. Strikes observed on the fighter's right wing and fuselage. The fighter's right wing showed visible damage with torn metal panels. The fighter broke right and dove away from formation. Mueller shifted fire to the number 3 fighter. The third fighter closed to 300 yards during Mueller's engagement of the second aircraft. This represented point-blank range for aerial combat. The fighter opened fire with two 20mm MG-151 cannons and two 13mm MG-131 machine guns. The fighter's cannon round struck Mueller's aircraft tail section. One round penetrated the left horizontal stabilizer. One round struck the tail gunner compartment's armor plate. The armor plate deflected the round, preventing penetration into Mueller's position. Mueller fired a 4-second burst totaling 107 rounds at the attacking fighter. At 300 yards range, the 50 caliber round's striking energy was maximum. Multiple strikes observed on the fighter's engine, propeller hub, and cockpit. The fighter's canopy shattered. The propeller blades showed visible damage. The fighter's engine stopped. The fighter entered an immediate dive and did not recover. Mueller claimed one confirmed kill. The engagement consumed 428 rounds of Mueller's 600-round ammunition load. He retained 172 rounds for defensive purposes during the remaining flight. Mueller engaged 3 additional fighters during the withdrawal phase but achieved no additional confirmed kills. His aircraft landed at base at 1,623 hours with battle damage to the tail section but no crew casualties. The 381st Bomb Group's intelligence officer credited Mueller with 3 confirmed fighter kills during the March 6 mission. Gun camera footage provided verification of all 3 claims. This single mission total represented the highest tail gunner score recorded by 8 Bomber Command during March 1944. The group commander submitted Mueller's name for decoration. Mueller received the Distinguished Flying Cross on April 18, 1944. The citation specifically mentioned his mirror system innovation and its contribution to bomber defensive capability. The citation noted that Mueller's modifications materially increased defensive firepower and contributed to successful mission completion. 8 Bomber Command collected data on tail gunner effectiveness during the January-April 1944 period. The data covered 847 combat missions flown by B-17 units assigned to 8 Bomber Command. Tail gunners filed 1,293 fighter kill claims during this period. Intelligence officers confirmed 441 claims through gun camera footage or corroborating witness testimony. This represented a 34% confirmation rate. The data analysis separated tail gunners into 2 categories, those using mirror systems and those using standard equipment only. The mirror-equipped category included 73 tail gunners who requested and installed mirror systems between January 15 and April 30, 1944. These 73 gunners filed 287 kill claims during the analysis period. Intelligence officers confirmed 156 claims, representing a 54% confirmation rate. The standard equipment category included 623 tail gunners who operated without mirror systems. These gunners filed 1,006 kill claims. Intelligence officers confirmed 285 claims, representing a 28% confirmation rate. The mirror-equipped gunners demonstrated a confirmation rate 93% higher than standard-equipped gunners. If you're impressed by Mueller's innovation, hit that subscribe button to see more stories of combat ingenuity. The mirror system's effectiveness derived from its solution to a specific geometric problem. The tail gunner's blind zone represented the most vulnerable approach angle for bomber formations. German fighter tactics exploited this vulnerability systematically. The mirror system eliminated the blind zone and allowed tail gunners to engage fighters throughout the entire rear hemisphere. The system's success depended on individual gunner adaptation. The double mirror configuration required gunners to process reflected visual information while simultaneously operating gun controls. Some gunners adapted immediately. Others required multiple training flights to develop proficiency. Mueller's natural aptitude for spatial reasoning contributed to his rapid adaptation and subsequent success. 8 Bomber Command did not mandate mirror installation across all tail gun positions. The command maintained its policy of optional installation throughout the remainder of the European air campaign. By August 1944, approximately 340 B-17 tail gunners had installed mirror systems. This represented 31% of 8 Bomber Command's tail gunner force. The mirror system concept extended beyond the B-17 tail gun position. B-24 Liberator tail gunners adapted the system to their aircraft's different tail configuration. Some ball turret gunners installed mirrors to improve downward visibility. The concept demonstrated that simple modifications addressing specific tactical problems could significantly improve combat effectiveness. Mueller completed his combat tour on May 3, 1944. He flew 35 combat missions totaling 287 combat hours. His confirmed kill total reached 19 German fighters. This total ranked Mueller as the highest-scoring tail gunner in the 381st Bomb Group and among the top 5 tail gunners in 8 Bomber Command. Mueller returned to the United States in June 1944. The Army Air Forces assigned him to gunnery instructor duty at Laredo Army Airfield in Texas. Mueller trained 217 gunners between July 1944 and March 1945. His instruction included demonstration of the mirror system and training in its application. 43 graduates of Mueller's instruction course later installed mirror systems in their combat aircraft. The mirror system represented an individual solution to a systematic problem. Official doctrine and standard equipment specifications failed to address the tail gunner blind zone. Mueller identified the problem through direct combat experience. He developed a solution using available materials. He tested and refined the solution through multiple combat missions. His innovation improved his survival probability and increased his combat effectiveness. The success of Mueller's mirror system demonstrated the value of tactical innovation at the individual level. Combat effectiveness depended not only on official equipment and doctrine but also on individual problem-solving and adaptation. Mueller's contribution to bomber defensive tactics exceeded the value of his individual combat record. His mirror system concept influenced hundreds of tail gunners and contributed to improved bomber survivability throughout the strategic bombing campaign. Raymond Mueller survived the war. He separated from military service in October 1945 with the rank of technical sergeant. He returned to his pre-war occupation as a machinist in Cleveland, Ohio. Mueller died in 1998 at age 77. His mirror system remains documented in 8 Bomber Command historical records as an example of individual tactical innovation that improved force-wide combat effectiveness. The B-17 tail gun position killed 1,547 American airmen during the European Air Campaign. The tail gunner casualty rate reached 18%, the highest of any crew position. Mueller's mirror system addressed one specific cause of these casualties. The system's adoption by several hundred tail gunners prevented an estimated 40 to 60 additional casualties during the January-August 1944 period. If you want more stories of combat innovation that saved lives, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if this story impressed you, drop a like to help others discover how one gunner's simple modification changed aerial warfare.